James Harrison Coburn III was an American film and television actor who was featured in more than 70 films, largely action roles, and made 100 television appearances during a 45-year career. Coburn was a capable, rough-hewn leading man, whose toothy grin and lanky physique made him a perfect tough guy in numerous leading and supporting roles in westerns and action films, such as The Magnificent Seven, Hell is for Heroes, The Great Escape, Charade, Man Flint, in Like Flint, The President's Analyst, Hard Times, Duck, You Sucker, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, and Cross of Iron. In 1997, Coburn won an Academy Award for his supporting role as Glen Whitehouse in Affliction. In 2002, he received a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Miniseries nomination for producing The Mists of Avalon. During the New Hollywood era, Coburn cultivated an image synonymous with cool, and, along with such contemporaries as Lee Marvin, Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, and Clint Eastwood, he became one of the most prominent, tough guy actors of his day. Early life. James Harrison Coburn III was born in Laurel, Nebraska on August 31, 1928, the son of James Harrison Coburn II and Milette S. Coburn. His father was of Scots-Irish ancestry and his mother was an immigrant from Sweden. The elder Coburn had a garage business that was destroyed by the Great Depression. Coburn himself was raised in Compton, California, where he attended Compton Junior College. In 1950, Coburn enlisted in the United States Army, in which he served as a truck driver and occasionally a disc jockey on an Army radio station in Texas. Coburn also narrated Army training films in Mainz, Germany. Coburn attended Los Angeles City College, where he studied acting alongside Jeff Corey and Stella Adler, and later made his stage debut at the La Jolla Playhouse in Herman Melville's Billy Budd. Early career television. Coburn's first professional job was a live television play for Sidney Lumet. He was selected for a Remington Products razor commercial in which he was able to shave off 11 days of beard growth in less than 60 seconds, while joking that he had more teeth to show on camera than the other 12 candidates for the part. Coburn's film debut came in 1959 as the sidekick of Pernell Roberts in the Randolph Scott western Ride Lonesome. He soon got a job in another western, Face of a Fugitive. Coburn also appeared in dozens of television roles including, with Roberts, several episodes of NBC's Bonanza. Coburn appeared twice each on two other NBC westerns, Tales of Wells Fargo with Dale Robertson, one episode in the role of Butch Cassidy, and The Restless Gun with John Payne in The Pawn, and The Way Back, the latter segment alongside Bonanza's Dan Blocker. Butch Cassidy aired in 1958. Coburn's third film was a major breakthrough for him, as the knife-wielding Brit in The Magnificent Seven, directed by John Sturges for the Mirisch Company. Coburn was hired through the intervention of his friend, Robert Vaughn. During the 1960–1961 season, Coburn co-starred with Ralph Tager and Joy Lansing in the NBC adventure, drama series, Klondike, set in the Alaskan gold rush town of Skagway. When Klondike was cancelled, Tager and Coburn were regrouped as detectives in Mexico in NBC's equally short-lived Acapulco. Coburn also made two guest appearances on CBS's Perry Mason, both times as the murder victim, in The Case of the Envious Editor, and The Case of the Angry Astronaut, respectively. In 1962, he portrayed the role of Col. Briscoe in the episode, Hostage Child, on CBS's Rawhide. Supporting actor in films. Coburn had a good role in Hell is for Heroes, a war movie with Steve McQueen. Coburn followed this with another war film with McQueen, The Great Escape, directed by Sturges for the Mauritius. Coburn played an Australian. For the Mauritius, Coburn narrated Kings of the Sun. Coburn was one of the villains in Charade, starring Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. He was then cast as a glib naval officer in Paddy Chayefsky's The Americanization of Emily, replacing James Garner, who had moved up to the lead when William Holden pulled out. This led to Coburn being signed to a 7-year contract with 20th Century Fox. Coburn had another excellent support role as a one-armed Indian tracker in Major Dundee, directed by Sam Peckinpah and starring Charlton Heston. At Fox, he was second billed in the pirate film A High Wind in Jamaica, supporting Anthony Quinn. He had a cameo in The Loved One. Stardom. Coburn became a genuine star following the release of the James Bond parody film Our Man Flint, playing super agent Derek Flint for Fox. The movie was a solid success at the box office. He followed it with What Did You Do in the War, Daddy? A wartime comedy from Blake Edwards which was made for the Mauritius. Coburn was top billed. The film was a commercial disappointment. Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round was a crime movie made at Columbia. Back at Fox, Coburn made a second Flint film, in Like Flint, which was popular but Coburn did not wish to make any more. He went over to Paramount to make a western comedy, Waterhole No. 3, and the political satire The President's Analyst. Neither film performed particularly well at the box office, but over the years The President's Analyst has become a cult film. In 1967, Coburn was voted the 12th biggest star in Hollywood. Over at Columbia, Coburn was in a swinging 60s heist film, Duffy, which flopped. He was one of several stars who had cameos in Candy, then played a hitman in Hard Contract for Fox, another flop. Coburn tried a change of pace, an adaptation of a Tennessee Williams play, Last of the Mobile Hot Shots directed by Sidney Lumet, but the film was not popular. In July 1970, Richard F. Zanuck of Fox dropped the $300,000 option it had with Coburn. In 1971, Coburn starred in the Zapata western Duck, You Sucker, with Rod Steiger and directed by Sergio Leone, as an Irish explosives expert and revolutionary who has fled to Mexico during the time of the Mexican Revolution in the early 20th century. In 1964, Coburn said he would do a fistful of dollars if they paid him $25,000, which was too expensive for the production's tiny budget. Duck You Sucker, also called A Fistful of Dynamite, was not as highly regarded as Leone's 4 previous westerns but was hugely popular in Europe, especially France. Back in the US he made another film with Blake Edwards, the thriller The Carey Treatment. It was badly cut by MGM and was commercially unsuccessful. So too was The Honkers, in which Coburn played a rodeo rider. Coburn went back to Italy to make another western, A Reason to Live, A Reason to Die, aka Massacre at Fort Hallman. He then re-teamed with director Sam Peckinpah for the 1973 film Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, in which he played Pat Garrett. In 1973, Coburn was voted the 23rd most popular star in Hollywood. In 1973, Coburn was among the featured celebrities dressed in prison gear on the cover of the album Band on the Run made by Paul McCartney and his band Wings. Coburn was one of the pallbearers at the funeral of Bruce Lee along with Steve McQueen, Bruce's brother, Robert Lee, Peter Chin, Danny Inosanto, and Taki Kimura. Coburn gave a speech, "Farewell, brother. It has been an honor to share this space and time with you. As a friend and a teacher, you have given to me, have brought my physical, spiritual and psychological selves together. Thank you. May peace be with you." Coburn was one of several stars in the popular The Last of Sheila. He then starred in a series of thrillers, Harry in Your Pocket and The Internecine Project. Neither was widely seen. Decline as star. Coburn began to drop back down the credit list. He was third billed in writer-director Richard Brooks's film Bite the Bullet behind Gene Hackman and Candice Bergen. He co-starred with Charles Bronson in Hard Times, the directorial debut of Walter Hill, but it was very much Bronson's film. The movie was popular. Coburn played the lead in the action film Skyriders, then played Charlton Heston's antagonist in The Last Hard Men. He was one of the many stars in Midway, then had the star role in Sam Peckinpah's Cross of Iron playing a German soldier. This critically acclaimed war epic performed poorly in the United States but was a huge hit in Europe. Peckinpah and Coburn remained close friends until Peckinpah's death in 1984. Coburn returned to television in 1978 to star in a 3-part miniseries version of a Dashiell Hammett detective novel, The Dane Curse, tailoring his character to bear a physical resemblance to the author. During that same year, as a spokesman for the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company, he was paid $500,000 to promote its new product in television advertisements by saying only 2 words, Schlitz. Light. In Japan, his masculine appearance was so appealing he became an icon for its leading cigarette brand. He also supported himself in later years by exporting rare automobiles to Japan. He was deeply interested in Zen and Tibetan Buddhism, and collected sacred Buddhist artwork. He narrated a film about the 16th Karmapa called The Lion's Roar. Coburn starred in Firepower with Sophia Loren, replacing Charles Bronson when the latter pulled out. He had a cameo in The Muppet Movie and had leading roles in Golden Girl and The Baltimore Bullet. He was Shirley MacLaine's husband in Loving Couples and had the lead in a Canadian film, Crossover. Final years. In 1981, Coburn moved almost entirely into supporting roles such as those of the villains in both High Risk and Looker. He hosted a TV series of the horror anthology type, Darkroom, in 1981 and 1982. He supported Walter Mondale's campaign in the 1984 presidential election. Coburn also portrayed Dwight Owen Barnes in the PC video game CEO, developed by ArtDink as a spin-off of its A Train series. Because of his severe rheumatoid arthritis, Coburn appeared in very few films during the 1980s, despite continuing to work during his final years. This disease had left Coburn's body deformed and in pain. He told ABC News in a 1999 interview, "You start to turn to stone. See, my hand is twisted now because tendons have shortened." For 20 years, Coburn tried a host of both conventional and unconventional treatments, but none of them worked. "There was so much pain that every time I stood up, I would break into a sweat," he recalled. Then, in 1996, Coburn tried methylsulfonylmethane, a sulfur compound available at most health food stores. The result, he said, was nothing short of miraculous. "You take this stuff and it starts right away," said Coburn. "Everyone I've given it to has had a positive response." Though the MSM did not cure Coburn's arthritis, it did relieve his pain, allowing him to move more freely and resume his career. Coburn was in a 4-year relationship with British singer-songwriter Lindsay de Paul from the late 1970s. They co-wrote her songs, Lawson the Blues for You, and Melancholy Melon, that appeared on her album Tigers and Fireflies. Coburn resumed his film career in the 1990s, where he appeared in supporting roles in Young Guns 2, Hudson Hawk, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, Maverick, Eraser, The Nutty Professor, Affliction, and Payback. His performance as Glen Whitehouse in Affliction earned him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He also provided the voice of Henry J. Waternoose 3 in the Pixar animated film Monsters, Inc. Cars. Coburn's interest in fast cars began with his father's garage business and continued throughout his life, as he exported rare cars to Japan. Coburn was credited with having introduced Steve McQueen to Ferraris, and in the early 1960s owned a Ferrari 250 GT Lusso and a Ferrari 250 GT Spider California SWB. His Spider was the 13th of just 56 built. Coburn imported the pre-owned car in 1964, shortly after completing The Great Escape. Cal Spider No. 2377 was repainted several times during Coburn's ownership. It has been black, silver, and possibly red. He kept the car at his Beverly Hills area home, where it was often serviced by Max Balchowski, who also worked on the suspension and frame modifications on the Mustang GTs used in the filming of McQueen's Bullitt. Coburn sold the Spider in 1987 after 24 years of ownership. The car was restored, had several owners, and was sold in 2008 for $10,894,400 to English broadcaster Chris Evans. At that time it set a new world record for the highest price ever paid for an automobile at auction. Over time he also owned a Ferrari Daytona, at least one Ferrari 308 and a 1967 Ferrari 412P sports racer. From 1998 until his death, Coburn did the voiceovers for Chevrolet's Like a Rock commercials. Personal life. Coburn was married twice. His first marriage was to Beverly Kelly in 1959. They had 2 children together. The couple divorced in 1979 after 20 years of marriage. He later married actress Paula Murad Coburn, on October 22, 1993 in Versailles, France. They remained married until Coburn's death in 2002. The couple set up the James and Paula Coburn Foundation. Coburn was a martial arts student and a friend of fellow actor Bruce Lee. Upon Lee's early death, Coburn was one of his pallbearers at the funeral on July 25, 1973. Coburn died of a heart attack at the age of 74 on November 18, 2002 while listening to music with his wife Paula at his Beverly Hills home. She later said he had died in her arms. Less than 2 years later, Paula died of cancer on July 30, 2004, at age 48. Critical analysis. In the New Biographical Dictionary of Film, critic David Thompson states that, Coburn is a modern rarity. An actor who projects lazy, humorous sexuality. He has made a variety of flawed, pleasurable films, the merits of which invariably depend on his laconic presence. Increasingly, he was the best thing in his movies, smiling privately, seeming to suggest that he was in contact with some profound source of amusement. Film critic Pauline Kael remarked on Coburn's unusual characteristics, stating that, he looked like the child of the liaison between Lieutenant Pinkerton and Madame Butterfly. George Hickenlooper, who directed Coburn in The Man from Elysian Fields, called him the masculine male. Andy Garcia called him the personification of class, the hippest of the hip, and Paul Schrader noted, he was of that 50s generation. He had that part hipster, part cool cat aura about him. He was one of those kind of men who were formed by the Rat Pack kind of style.